What's up, third grade? Mrs. Bell here, and I'm ready for your music special. So today we're going to switch gears a little bit. I'm not going to teach you a new song to sing. We're going to spend a little bit of time identifying notes on the staff. So you guys at this point are knowledgeable about the notes on the treble clef. We've spent quite a bit of time talking about identifying the pitches on the treble clef. And you guys know that the treble clef is a symbol that looks like this. And on the treble clef staff, the 5 lines are every good boy deserves fudge, and the 4 spaces spell the word face. So you'll notice here, these are the notes that are on the lines because a line is going through it. So every good boy deserves fudge, or elephants get big dirty feet are your 5 lines, E, G, B, D, F. And then in the spaces of the treble clef, you can see are right here. They are in the spaces between the lines. The notes in the spaces spell the word face because space rhymes with face. So F, A, C, E. And we always start at the bottom and work our way up the lines and spaces of the staff. So that was a super, super quick review. You guys have heard that many, many times from me. We're going to go over today the lines and spaces on the bass clef. All right, so the bass clef is a symbol that looks sort of like half of a heart with 2 dots beside it. And the bass clef means the notes have a lower sound. So notes that are written and played on the treble clef staff are going to have a higher pitch or a higher sound than the notes on the bass clef. So bass clef is low notes, treble clef is high notes, and there are different sentences that will help us identify the notes on the lines and the spaces of the bass clef. So we can't use every good boy deserves fudge and face for the bass clef. That only works for the lines and spaces on the treble clef. So let's start off with the lines of the bass clef. Remember, we always start at the bottom and work our way up towards the top. So I've put a whole note on all 5 lines. And remember the little hand trick that I taught you? You guys can use this too. That might be easier in my camera right now. So bass clef lines, remember that's where we point to our fingertips and we're starting at our pinky. The bass clef sentence for the 5 lines of the staff are go, beg, dad for allowance. So go would be what letter? G. Beg, that's a B. Dad, D. For, F, and allowance, A. So G, B, D, F, A. Let's say it one more time. Go, beg, dad for allowance. Those are the 5 lines. Now you know the staff is not just made up of those 5 lines. It is also made up of the 4 spaces in between the lines. And the bass clef sentence for the 4 lines are all cows eat grass. Or you could use all cars eat gas. So all, that's an A. Cows, that's a C. Eat, that's an E. Grass, that's a G. Or all cars eat gas would also result in the same letters, A, C, E, G. So those are the 5 lines and 4 spaces on the bass clef, the low notes. So I'm going to attach a little video that you guys may have seen in class before, but it's a really fun little refresher about the lines and spaces on the treble clef and on the bass clef. So be sure to watch that. And then I want you to spend some time again on one of my favorite music websites for kids, our Classics for Kids website. And please play the note name game. Okay, right here. And I want you to be sure this time that you're not just practicing the notes on the treble clef. I want you to challenge yourself and really focus the majority of your time on this game by clicking on the bass clef button. So see how that's lit up in green? That means that I'm going to have to use those 2 new sentences that I taught you today to identify the pitches on the bass clef. And you can see our bass clef is right there. So if you click here, that's going to switch you back to the treble clef notes. Every good boy deserves fudge and face. You can practice that too, that's fine. But I really would like for you to focus the majority of your gaming time on this website today by practicing the bass clef notes. So just to review one more time, it's go beg dad for allowance on the lines, and then the spaces are all cows eat grass. Okay, use the hand trick. I'm a grown-up and I still use that trick to help me remember the pitches. Okay, and then last but not least, one of my favorite pieces of music that I like to listen to all year round, but especially in the spring, is by a famous composer named Antonio Vivaldi. And he wrote a piece. The larger work is called Four Seasons, and it's 4 different sections that are each dedicated to the 4 seasons throughout the year. But his spring section of that piece of music is so beautiful, and you guys have probably heard it before. I want you to listen to it. It is a piece that is played by the string family of instruments, and it's supposed to take you back to the sounds that you might associate with springtime. So flowers blooming, it's supposed to sound like birds are chirping. It's supposed to make you imagine that the trees are budding, the grass is green, flowers are starting to spring up from the ground, right? And then a thunderstorm comes, and you'll hear the music starts to sound a little bit unsettled, a little bit spookier, a little bit scarier, not as cheerful as it did in the beginning. And that's to signify a thunderstorm, because we have a lot of rain and storms in the springtime because the air patterns are changing, right? Warmer air is starting to move in, and that cooler climate air is starting to move out. So then after the thunderstorm ends, we hear that really cheerful sound that the piece starts with, and you can kind of hear the form of the song too, because it starts really cheerful. That's the A section. Then the thunderstorm comes, B section, and then it goes back to the A section again, and everything is bright and cheerful after that thunderstorm is over. So again, that piece is by Antonio Vivaldi. He's from the Baroque period of music, so a long time ago. He lived in the 1700s, and he was born in Italy. And this is probably his most famous work. Again, it is from his piece called Four Seasons. And the section that is the most famous is his spring section. So give that a listen. I think that it will brighten your day. So practice those bass clef notes. And then make sure that you listen to a couple of the other videos that I'm going to attach, one about the lines and spaces on the staff, and then Antonio Vivaldi's spring section from his work, Four Seasons. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Practice those bass clef notes